My name is Martha Newman, and I am your virtual director of religious education today. Can you all hear me? Am I up on your screen? Excellent. Oh, good. I saw some thumbs lift from the sanctuary. That was excellent. All right. So today we are talking about romance novels. So I have for you a romantic story. Children and young people, this is the part of our service that is especially designed with you in mind. If you would like to come forward and sit with me here in the front, you are more than welcome to. We'll be together here for the story, and then you can depart for your class. So if you want, you can come up and sit by me. Hello, good morning. I see you coming up the aisle. Hello, my friends. Hello. Oh, it's good to see you all. Hello. Oh, I see some of my friends. How fun. All right. So I have a story to share with you today. Once upon a time, there lived a prince and a princess. They came from very different places. It was amazing that they fell in love when they did. They only met because of very specific and sort of magical circumstances. They locked eyes with each other and they knew right away, and they fell in love very fast, and it was a whirlwind, and then very many wonderful things happened, and it was very exciting. And then there was some kind of big, tricky misunderstanding or obstacle to love or something like that. But they overcame it because of the strength of their love. They got to the other side and everyone cheered and they got married and there was a big celebration and all their friends came and threw confetti. And then they lived happily ever after. Have you heard a story like this before? Yeah. I have heard many stories like this before. The prince and the princess live happily ever after. That's the ending line to very many stories, which left me wondering, what happens after that? So that's where our story starts. The day after the wedding, the prince and the princess were having breakfast together. They were sitting and they were staring wistfully into one another's eyes, when they realized they didn't actually have any groceries. Weddings take a lot to plan and they had just forgotten to buy any groceries, so they needed to go to the grocery store. So they went to the grocery store, and while they were in the store, they had a little bit of an argument about pickles, about whether or not it was worth it to buy the name brand pickles or just regular old Market Basket brand pickles. The prince was feeling a little bit unheard about why he preferred his particular pickles, and he wasn't sure how to express why this was important to him. When they got home with the pickles, they sat down to stare wistfully into one another's eyes again. But they were both thinking that they could use a little bit of alone time to reset. "I think I will take a walk in the garden," the princess said. "Would you like me to come with you?" asked the prince, to be polite. No, I'm good," said the princess, a little bit too flippantly. And this hurt the prince's feelings, even if he understood. So the princess went off to take her walk, and the prince went off to do some painting. While she was walking in the garden, the princess thought about how she wanted to communicate better with the prince. She felt bad for being a little bit flippant with him. And while he was painting, the prince thought about how he wanted to be more patient with the princess. Out in the garden, the princess was thinking about the many stories she had been told growing up. She had read many books and seen many movies, and she had always dreamed about her own happily ever after. Many of these stories show the prince and the princess getting married and riding off into the sunset, and then they don't show anything after that. She thought about the argument at the grocery store and how the prince's feelings might have been hurt. This didn't feel like happily ever after to her. She needed some more stories to help her through this part. So the princess got out her cell phone from a couple of years ago, the cell phone, and she decided to call her friend who was a duke. Hello? Hello. The duke had been married for a while to a duchess. The princess said, "Have you ever spoken too flippantly with the duchess and made her sad?" The duke laughed. "Yes," he said, "many, many times. We don't always communicate perfectly with the ones that we love. But I have learned how the duchess communicates, and she has learned about me, and we are growing better at communicating with one another. These days, I try very hard to ask her how she's feeling and to listen when she tells me." "And are you still living happily ever after?" said the princess. "Yes, very much so," said the duke. "Even more so." The princess felt grateful for this story. Inside, the prince was painting, and he was thinking about how he needed some more stories too. So he called up his friend, ring, ring, who was a countess, who had just got married to a charming count just last year. He asked the countess, "My dear friend, have you ever argued about pickles in the grocery store with your beloved?" And the countess laughed and she said, "Oh, of course, many times." And then she told the prince the story of an argument that she and the count had had early in their happy ever after about how much broccoli was too much broccoli to buy. And the countess said, "When I listened to the count, I learned that what he really cared about was making sure we didn't waste food. I learned that this was important to him. Now I make sure that we only buy what we need, and this makes him happy, and it means a lot to him. And I've liked learning this thing about him that I didn't know. It makes me feel closer to him." And the prince said, "Are you still living your happily ever after?" And the countess said, "Very much so, even more so these days." So the prince was grateful about this story. A few minutes later, the princess came back inside, and she found the prince. The prince took her hands in his, and he said, "I am sorry for bickering with you in the grocery store." And she said, "I am sorry for speaking flippantly with you." And he laughed and said, "It's okay. I think a little bit of space helped us. Painting helped me to remember our love." And the princess said, "Talking to my friend helped me get another perspective." So they went into the kitchen and they cooked some dinner together. And that night, they sat across from each other at their long dining room table. And instead of looking wistfully into one another's eyes, they looked at each other with a little bit more knowing. They realized they had a lot more to learn about each other. They have a lot of things still to figure out. They realized there was work ahead. They would need to practice their love. And they felt excited about what this could look like. They were learning that conflict could be a part of knowing each other deeper and loving each other. And because they loved each other, everything was going to work out in the end. So they kept on living their happily ever after. The end. Children, you are welcome to depart through the doors that I hope are that way. The doors on I don't know. You're welcome to depart through the doors to the Children's Chapel for Spirit Play with Pam and Holly today. All elementary school kids can go to Spirit Play today. We don't have superheroes class. Thank you so much and have a good lesson.